Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar event. I'd like to welcome you all. My name is Joshua and I'm going to be your presenter today. It's a little after, a couple minutes after 2 on my computer, but other devices show it's promptly 2. Welcome. We're here to talk about recurring accounting transactions today. A couple things before we get started. We are recording today's webinar event. We already have a video out there on this recurring transactions function from a previous version. Frankly, folks, it's out there on the website right now. It's accessible anytime. We will have the video or recording of this particular event out on our website here sometime in the next week or 10 days or so. But frankly, if you go and watch the one on the previous version, there's very little that's changed about it. The functionality is very similar. Okay, we're going to be together for the next 20 minutes or so. I will end wherever I am. We don't want to keep you longer. We appreciate you carving out the time in your day to spend with us today. Please type in questions that you have to the questions portion of the webinar control panel. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those. I'm pretty good about repeating the questions so everyone understands what's being asked and then doing our best to answer those. Please, keep the questions on the topic at hand. Typically, I'm not prepared for questions in other portions of the software. There's probably most likely another webinar event that's going to be on a topic or a recording or a video out there on the topic that you have a question about. Or, of course, our support technicians are simply a phone call away at 800-533-5227, and myself included. So if you do have those questions after the event, of course, please don't hesitate to pick up the telephone and call us. Our technicians are always available and happy to help. Finally, our workbook this topic is taken directly from our Accounting A202 workbook, pages 8 to 14. So we do put those workbook pages on the website with the webinars. We try to model as much of the webinars after the workbooks as we can, or documentation. If you don't have the workbooks and you're interested in those, of course, you can purchase those from the Church Windows store on there under the workbooks page. A lot of folks have nice things to say about those. They're often helpful, particularly in conjunction with these webinar events. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're here in accounting. As page 8 kind of talks about there under recurring transactions, Church Windows provides recurring transactions that are set up and saved and can be used and reused again as needed, okay? That's essentially what they boil down to. They're basically a structure or a framework for a series of transactions that we're going to be posting on a regular basis, whether that's monthly or quarterly or semi-annually. They just help save you time in terms of selecting your accounts or your vendors or whatever accounts are involved in the transactions. And they help minimize mistakes too. So in addition to speeding up the process of creating or posting transactions, it also ensures that we're reselecting or selecting the same accounts each and every time. And if you've got a recurring payment amount on the transactions, it'll even save the amount and post those. The only thing then you have to make sure that you're aware of is, say, your date or date occurred of the transactions, okay? Recurring transactions can be used. Let me get out my highlighter here. So we're going to go to transactions where recurring can be set up are our enter income right here, our enter bills right here, and at the top here under our transactions, they can be also recorded or set up under journal entries that are found under other and transfers right here, okay? Those are the 4 transaction types where recurring transactions can be set up. Okay, so if I click on other, there's my journal entry transaction. You can set them up there. You can set, so let me click on that just to bring it up. So right here under journal entry, let me choose a date, today's date. And then over here on the upper right, we can see recurring transactions right there. So that's where we can set those up. And so if I get rid of my journal entry screen and we go to transfers, there's recurring there under transfers. If I go to enter income, there's recurring transactions. And finally, if we go to enter bills, there's recurring transactions, all in the upper right-hand corner, okay? You can enter recurring transactions at one time if you want, if you've got a bunch of them, or you can enter them and set them up as needed. So, you may not know you need a recurring transaction until you enter it. If you something you're going to be posting again, you can always add a recurring transaction at any time, okay? Frequently, they're useful, and a good example of where recurring transactions is often used or helpful is for things like, like I said, utilities, something that you're paying on a regular monthly basis or with a regular certain amount of frequency. Recurring will help you with that process, again, for speed and accuracy, okay? Or as the workbook says, save time and keystrokes, okay? So here we are at enter bills. If we go to recurring transactions, we already have some recurring transactions in here. So for our utilities, telephone, internet, church gas, electric, water bill. So we're going to enter, say, a recurring insurance payment. It may be something we're only paying semi-annually, but we can still go ahead and set that up as a recurring payment or a recurring bill. So simply to create a new recurring transaction, we're simply going to click the Create New button right here. All right. So then we click on the Create New, and it opens up our, let me get rid of my drawing there. Opens our recurring bill transaction screen. Then we're going to call this insurance payment insurance. We're just going to call this church insurance. Be a little more specific here. Church insurance. Frequency, and we're going to put this in here as semi-annually. If I could spell semi, clearly I can't spell that today. And then the vendor payee is our be sure you're recovered insurance agency. I can put in transaction comments if I wish. They'll also, semi-annual insurance payment. Down here, I would go down to my expense account. Let's see, insurance. So there's property insurance. Tab over, can enter an amount. In this case, it most likely probably would be a fixed amount, so we're going to say it's, 3456.78. And then again, I can go ahead and enter the line item comments I wish and click Save Transaction, okay? So now it's entered my church insurance to my list of recurring bill transactions right here, okay? It's there for me to be able to select as needed, whether that's, clearly semi-annually, so twice a year. I don't have to go in and reselect the vendor or the account, or the vendor, or even enter the amount. I can always edit all of that stuff. I don't even have to edit it as part of the recurring transaction, but I can if I may, okay? So now that I've set up my recurring transactions, I'm ready to begin using those. So now we're talking about using a recurring transaction. Well, hang on, before we get to that, sorry, I missed a step here. On page 9, we talk about recurring transaction categories. So if we go to, I clicked on bank rec, not enter bills. So enter bills, we go back up to our recurring. So what the bottom of page 9 talks about in recurring transactions is, categories is, say I pay like all my utilities at the same time each month. I can put those into a particular category. So if we notice over here on the right-hand side, it says category uncategorized right here. Okay, everybody should see that in my poorly drawn box. So I can categorize those. So if I do, like edit categories, it opens up my list and I can go, okay, my description is my utilities. Okay, click add, and I can go in and create others if I wish, okay, but that's good enough for now. So once I click OK through that, I would simply go down through my list of recurring transactions and I would assign each one of them that I was wanting to categorize as part of my utilities. We'll throw your phone in there too, okay? So, when I want to be able to utilize, that categorization, I would come down into my recurring transactions when I'm ready to grab those bills. Down here I would choose select rows by category. Okay, let me get rid of my drawing tool here. And when I click the down arrow, I would choose Utilities and click OK. And now notice that it's highlighted all of those that I've categorized as utilities. Now when I click on, let me get rid of my drawing here, click on Paste, it now brings over only those particular bills as part of that category into my unposted bills batch. Okay? But that's essentially what it is going into the recurring transactions, selecting the particular transaction or transactions that you're wanting, and clicking Paste. And that just moves them into the list of active transactions that we are attempting to post. Okay? So here are my recurring bills that I've got set up for my batch. You know, notice it's dated them all today's date on 7/25. You know, typically I wouldn't be putting them in there unless I was going to, but you don't have to. So if I go, oh, well, my, you know, American Electric Power bill or my Columbia Gas bill is a different date or a different amount, all you have to do is just highlight it and click Edit down here at the bottom right. And now I can go up here and go, okay, my date occurred on my gas bill is really actually going to be 7/28. Okay. I can even go so far as to edit the amounts if I wish, but you know, we're going to say we're on the budget plan for that. Okay, but right here, my big city utilities definitely needs it. It's only got $1 entered in there, so I'm going to highlight that or double click on it. Now I can go ahead and put in my, you know, monthly bill amount, you know, and change the date, enter an invoice number if I want. I can edit anything about these transactions after I paste them over. Okay, and then click Done, Add to Batch. Okay. We can't create recurring payment transactions, only again the bills, income, transfer, and journal entries. Okay. So page 11 talks about selecting a category of transactions. We've kind of shown that here. Really categorizing them, if you've got a lot of bills to pay on a monthly basis that certainly can be grouped together by category, folks, will definitely save you time. And it'll certainly help ensure that you don't miss something, you know. So now I would go ahead and just enter these bills in either post or post and pay, just like I would normally, okay? So, okay, again, it's a framework of a transaction. So a lot of times folks will call and they'll say, well, what if my amount of my recurring transaction changes every month? Well, as you can clearly see here under our recurring, my water bill, notice it's paid quarterly, shows $1 is the amount. I have to set it up at least with a penny, a dime, or a dollar in my recurring entry, or else I won't be able to create the entry, okay? But again, I would just highlight that, choose Paste, then move it up to my active bill transaction, make the changes to the date and or the amount, and just add it to my batch. But I've still saved myself time by not having to select the vendor or the expense, okay? So again, it's accuracy in this particular case, all right? If I want to edit a particular recurring transaction, so I can go, all right, well, my monthly telephone bill has gone up, so I'm going to change that. So I highlight the particular recurring transaction, click Edit Selected at the top, and it opens up my Create Bill Recurring Transaction where I can go, oh yeah, well they've increased my monthly payment by $10. That monthly payment now has become $135. I click Save Transactions, and I've now just edited my recurring transaction. Okay, folks, you can edit virtually anything about these. Okay, page 13 talks about editing the recurring transaction after pasting it over. So like I said, under my water bill, click Paste. Oh, it's already in the batch. Sorry, it is already there. So that was my big city utilities. So my water bill, I did that. Highlighted it, double-clicked, or highlight and edit, moved it up to the top, made my desired changes, clicked Add to Batch. I didn't do anything to change the recurring transaction, just editing it after I pasted it over. Okay? Finally, if you wish to delete recurring transactions, of course, you would go into the respective transaction type, whether, again, that was bills or income or transfer or a journal entry, and then highlight, go into the recurring, and then we go, oh, well, we don't want to pay, we're not paying, we're not, well, something. In either case, you don't want it anymore. You highlight it, and then right up here at the very top center, click Delete Selected, and then that will delete that recurring transaction. You're not deleting any transactions that were associated with that. You're just deleting it from the recurring list. It says there, it's reminding us, hey, we have recurring transactions that have been used for your church gas. Are you sure you want to delete it? And of course, I'm going to go, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to click yes, and that now takes it out of my recurring list. Folks, I would use recurring transactions whenever and wherever possible. It simply will help me speed up and make my job a lot easier. Speeds it up, and it also makes sure that I'm, doing it correctly and minimizes my mistakes as a, fallible human being. So I make mistakes. Recurring transactions just minimizes that, okay? So finally here, with just a couple minutes left, if we go into, now we'll delete the batch. If I go into retransfers, or I think I've even got some recurring journal entry in here, highlight that, go up to recurring. Oh, I've got to choose a date, sorry. Yeah, so I've got, I have a one-time transaction perhaps, or maybe we're amortizing our prepaid pledges where we're moving them, 1/12 of the year's prepaids from the prior year into income each month. You set up a recurring journal entry transaction for that, or you've got, regular investment earnings that you want to record as changes to those investment assets and funds. You can set them up as recurring journal entries. Or if we go, the church transfers money from one bank account into your checking account or from one asset to another, you can go up here and set up recurring asset transfers, okay? So lots and lots of uses of the recurring transactions themselves. And again, I strongly recommend, having used the software as long as I do, that you set up and use those recurring transactions as often as possible. It really will help. At least I think so. I like to tag this webinar by saying, folks, none of this is automated. All the recurring transaction does is set it up so you have to do less work, but they still require you to paste them over and post those transactions. Nothing gets posted in the software automatically. It's still a user-driven function, okay? All right, so that's our topic for the day. Let me see what questions we've got in here. I like the idea of categorizing recurring transactions. Can you print an up-to-date spending from a category group? I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, Mary, but no, I can't. I could certainly go in and create a, custom account group of either the vendors or the expense accounts that are involved with that, but I can't do it from the recurring transactions screen. No. Good question. You can find out more about custom account groups on another webinar event, or at least certainly on videos on the website, but that would be the way I would set those up. Custom account groups are a way of essentially categorizing accounts, but yeah, those don't tie to recurring. Good question. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. I don't want to end the webinar prematurely if folks are typing in a lengthy question, so we'll give folks a few more seconds here, or a little bit of time here to type something in. Recurring, yes, very powerful, helpful feature in the software, and certainly I think probably underutilized, and folks, hopefully you'll begin using more and more of those, again, to speed up your job, daily workload, and to help minimize some mistakes that you might be making. So, all right, good. I hope this helps everybody. I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for everyone. No other questions have come in. Please check the current webinar list. I think we've got the August events up there now. You'll be getting an email from us about that soon. And we look forward to seeing everyone at a future Church Windows webinar event. All right. Thank you all. Have a good day. Bye-bye.